Pierce Brosnan, 5 names he never forgot. He played the world's coolest spy. But off camera, Pierce Brosnan faced battles no script could prepare him for. Fame, grief, betrayal, and 5 names he never forgot. For the first time, the man behind 007 breaks his silence. From lost friendships to cold betrayals, these 5 figures left scars he could never quite forgive. One took the role he dreamed of. Another made filming a nightmare. One nearly destroyed everything. Who were they and what really happened? This isn't gossip. This is personal. Timothy Dalton. When Pierce Brosnan first heard that Timothy Dalton had been cast as James Bond, it wasn't just a professional blow. It was personal. The two weren't enemies. In fact, they were friends. That made it worse. Back in the mid-1980s, Brosnan had been handpicked by Bond producer Albert "Cubby" Broccoli as the future of the franchise. He had the looks, the presence, the charm. Even Ian Fleming's widow said Pierce was exactly what her late husband had envisioned for 007. But then fate intervened. At the time, Brosnan was a leading man in Remington Steele. When the show was canceled in 1986, it seemed he was finally free to step into Bond's tuxedo. Broccoli had already made it clear. If Brosnan could act, the role was his. Everyone expected him to be the next James Bond. But as the rumors heated up, NBC saw an opportunity. They reversed their cancellation and ordered new Remington Steele episodes. Contractually tied, Brosnan was forced to decline Bond. It was devastating. That's when Timothy Dalton stepped in. Dalton had long been on the short list, and when the opportunity reopened, he was offered the role. Brosnan could only watch as his friend claimed the part that had once been promised to him. Dalton had done nothing wrong. He was simply available. But to Brosnan, it felt like losing a once-in-a-lifetime dream to someone he trusted. "I had to smile through it," he later admitted. That smile hid a crushing disappointment. Dalton's Bond was darker and grittier, a deliberate departure from Roger Moore's charm. The Living Daylights, 1987, performed well, but License to Kill, 1989, flopped in the U.S. Many argued Dalton was just keeping the seat warm until Brosnan could return. But at the time, Pierce feared the door had closed forever. To make matters worse, his wife Cassandra was battling ovarian cancer. Brosnan's dream of playing Bond had been as much for her as for himself. Losing the role while watching her suffer was unbearable. Fans now call 1986 to 1994 Brosnan's lost years. He worked steadily. Thrillers, commercials, smaller films. But Bond became a ghost haunting his career. Dalton's Bond flickered and faded, while Brosnan's moment never seemed to arrive. Until 1994. When Dalton stepped down, Brosnan finally got the call. His debut in GoldenEye, 1995, grossed over $350 million worldwide and revitalized the franchise. Outwardly, Pierce was gracious. But insiders knew the truth. Dalton wasn't his enemy, but he would always represent a closed door, a deferred dream, and a broken promise. Brosnan went on to define Bond for a new generation, but Dalton's shadow never fully disappeared. Christopher Brosnan. To the world, Christopher Brosnan was simply Pierce's adopted son. To Pierce, he was much more, a second chance at fatherhood he had never received himself. Christopher entered Pierce's life when he married actress Cassandra Harris in 1980. She had 2 children from a previous marriage, Charlotte and Christopher. When their biological father died in 1986, Pierce legally adopted them. They took his name, but more importantly, they took his love. Pierce became the father he had never known, determined to give them the stability he lacked growing up. For years, they lived as a close-knit family. But tragedy struck in 1991. Cassandra was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. After a brutal 4-year battle, she passed away. Her death shattered the family. Christopher, only 19 at the time, spiraled. While Pierce buried his grief in work, Christopher quietly unraveled. He tried to stay close, working on Pierce's Bond film behind the scenes. But warning signs appeared. In 1996, he was fined for drunk driving. The following year, he was arrested again and sentenced to 3 months in prison. Substance abuse soon followed. He collapsed outside clubs, fell into comas, and was repeatedly arrested. The tabloids were merciless, branding him the Bond actor's junkie son. For Pierce, it was a nightmare, watching his son disappear before his eyes, just as Cassandra had. By 2012, Christopher was a shell of the boy Pierce once knew. When paparazzi photographed him in London years later, gaunt, weathered, unrecognizable, it confirmed what Pierce had long feared. His son had faded away not through death, but through addiction. Pierce had already buried Cassandra, and later his daughter Charlotte, who died of the same cancer that took her mother. To lose Christopher to a different kind of illness completed a tragic trilogy of loss. He rarely speaks of Christopher. When he does, it's in a rehearsed, guarded way. But friends insist he never truly let go. He helped quietly through third parties, always keeping tabs. Sometimes love isn't enough, Pierce once confessed. Sometimes the person you're trying to save doesn't want to be saved. Of all the betrayals, of all the pain, this is the one that still cuts deepest. Daniel Craig. When Brosnan hung up the tuxedo after Die Another Day, 2002, he assumed he'd be back. The film had earned $431 million worldwide, the highest grossing Bond at the time. He was in peak shape, already preparing for the next installment. Then came the phone call. You were a great James Bond. Thank you very much. Goodbye. No meeting. No dinner. Just 47 seconds on the phone. Behind the scenes, the producers had already decided to reboot the franchise with a younger Bond. While Brosnan was still promoting his last film, they were screen testing other actors, including Daniel Craig. Emails revealed the cold truth. Brosnan was considered too old, too expensive, and ironically, too Bond. His own success had become his downfall. The betrayal cut deep. After 4 blockbuster films and nearly a decade of loyalty, he was cast aside with shocking indifference. Even worse, the man stepping into his role never reached out. No call, no message, no acknowledgement. When Craig was announced, fans revolted. A blonde Bond? A relative unknown? Brosnan stayed polite, wishing him well, but the pain was obvious. Then Casino Royale, 2006, premiered. It was a massive hit, grossing $616 million, and earning rave reviews for Craig's gritty, stripped-down portrayal. The franchise was reborn, but without Brosnan. Watching from the sidelines, Pierce compared it to watching someone else raise your child. His career suffered too. His $12 million asking price dropped to $3 million. He laid off staff. He fell into depression. His children saw him cry for the first time. Over the years, Brosnan has never criticized Craig directly, but he's been clear there should have been more grace, more class. Craig wasn't the villain, but to Brosnan, he became the symbol of everything that had been taken from him, the A-list diva co-star. Pierce Brosnan has a reputation as one of Hollywood's most gracious and grounded actors, which is why whispers of tension on the set of Mamma Mia shocked fans. But the problem wasn't Pierce. According to insiders, one legendary co-star, described as an A-list diva, turned what should have been a joyful shoot into a nightmare. Constant demands, rewrites, late arrivals, tantrums, crew members in tears. Brosnan hated every minute of it. He nearly walked off the sequel. For Pierce, the project had been personal. After years of grief and heavy roles, Mamma Mia was supposed to be light, healing, joyful. Instead, it became a battlefield of egos. He said it reminded him of everything he hated about Hollywood, a friend recalled. The narcissism, the entitlement. Brosnan never named the actors publicly, but his silence speaks volumes. For a man who valued kindness, it was an unforgettable betrayal. Not a professionalism, but a humanity. The industry executive. If there is one figure Pierce Brosnan truly despises, it isn't an actor. It's a faceless executive who ended his Bond reign with a single cold phone call. After 4 hit films that revived the franchise and grossed over $1.4 billion, Brosnan was preparing for his 5th. He was in shape, pitching ideas, ready to go. Then, in 2004, the phone rang. You were a great James Bond. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Just 47 seconds. No meeting. No handshake. No gratitude. Behind the scenes, executives had already tested replacements for 2 years. Brosnan was never told. He was discarded quietly, his fate sealed long before that call. The man who delivered the news has never been named publicly, but insiders know who he is, a studio climber who saw Brosnan not as an icon, but an obstacle. The fallout was brutal. Brosnan's asking price plummeted. Projects collapsed. He laid off 12 people. For the first time, his children saw him break. Friends say the rejection crushed him more than Cassandra's death. This wasn't just losing a role, it was losing an identity. Even now, Brosnan avoids Bond reunions or cameos. The wound is too deep. Epilogue. Pierce Brosnan gave the world one of its most beloved James Bonds. But behind the polished image are scars that never faded. A friend who became a rival. A son lost addiction. A replacement who arrived without warning. A co-star who poisoned joy. An executive who erased him with a single call. 5 names. 5 betrayals. 5 battles that no tuxedo could shield him from. Sparkles if you found this story intense. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. And click the next video for more untold Hollywood stories.